Are we on again?
Okay, we're on, thanks.
My name's Alastair Greig. I'm a composer based here in London, and I'm delighted to be part of the February Composers Now Festival in New York, where I'm fortunate having a new piece played, a piece called Neruda Fragments for solo cello. The fragments are lines taken from a poem by Pablo Neruda called La Barcarola Termina, the water song ends. And I've known about Neruda for 30 odd years and had this poem in mind to use the ideas, which are very, very musical. And so the idea started with just using a few lines from the start of the poem. So it's 4 movements, 4 sections, and they deal with some ideas within the poem. The subject of the poem at the start is Neruda's visit to Vietnam in 1920s, and then of course juxtaposing that with his experiences and the world's experience of Vietnam in the 1960s. And whilst the music I've composed isn't programmatic in any sense, it does use some of those ideas. So we have lyrical ideas based on a Vietnamese lullaby. I've used some Southeastern Asian Kesset dancing, which is from Malaysia, where people use bamboo poles to create rhythmic patterns. So I've acquired a few of those rhythmic patterns and toyed with those, and then used my own compositional devices to create this 10-minute work for solo cello, which is quite demanding in places. So I'm very much looking forward to working with the cellist and helping, if I can, him work out the things I've devised.
Can you say something about how this is a fragment of a larger piece?
Yeah, the fragments. I've really wanted to set this poem for some time, and not set it in as in a for voice and orchestra, but just use the musical ideas in the entire poem. And I think that the purpose of writing this piece, part of the purpose of writing this piece, is working some of the fragments out, which may or may not become a larger piece, which at the moment remains hidden or locked in my head, locked in my mind.
And this idea of using literature as a source for music, can you say a bit more about that? Is that something you've done before?
Extra musical devices often help me form musical ideas. So paintings, literature particularly, has helped. One of the pieces I wrote a few years ago, a piece of 12 piano pieces called Illusions and Distillations, used references to Virginia Woolf, Joseph Conrad. James Joyce has always been a constant figure in the background of the music. So literature plays an important part, as do other factors in the music. In fact, the cello piece also includes something from my own past, a kind of Hollywood take on Vietnam when I was much younger. Taken to see Apocalypse Now, there's a moment right at the start where the Doors music, the end piece, is played, and I've incorporated a tiny bit of that into this cello piece. So it's slightly autobiographical, looking at sort of false image of Vietnam as compared to the poetic, which I suppose is still contrived, but he was actually there. My experiences are more cinematic.
I can see how cinema might influence the music, but how might the Virginia Woolf novel, for example, how might the listener hear that in a piece of music?
It's more the idea, it's more the poetic idea, that the images, that the words I used were taken from the novel The Waves, and the prose is just so beautiful. It's music in itself, and so it's just taking an idea from that, not dealing with narrative, just dealing with an idea from the prose, which sparks off musical sounds, and it's then working those things out on paper, and that's really just working out the reaction to that literature.